All right, next up, I'm going to talk a little bit about the joinery. So I'm doing domino tenons. You could also do this with traditional floating tenons using a router or whatever. But there's a real advantage to using floating tenons or dowels in a project like this because the back legs twist out and the front legs come out at a trapezoid sort of shape. So you've got an outward taper and then you've also got twist to these legs. So here's my cutting template for the back stretchers that determines the twist of the back legs. But you can see it's not 90 degrees like this, it's twisted out, and that makes the joinery, one, complicated, but also weak if you use a traditional mortise. So I've got some domino stock here that I made, and when you do a domino, it's going to go in at a 90-degree angle to the wood, and that's fine on this part, but it's better than a traditional mortise and tenon for this part because when you've got an angled cut, this is a 20-degree angle, it's going to go in at a 90-degree to that 20-degree part here, and so the wood grain should be running continuously through this. And if the tenon were cocked off like that, then you've got short grain in the only stressed part of the joint. The rest of this strength doesn't do you any good if you're cutting the tenon like this to fit into the back leg at a 90 degree. So, or you have to chop your mortise at an angle, which is really hard. So instead you cut a tenon that has all that strength captured in it. This is pretty thin, but it's super strong. I can not even bend it really with my hands. And when it goes into both of those pieces, the strength will be captured by both pieces and be very well suited for this. I have a domino, so I'm going to use it, but again, you could use a router to do this as well, or a dowel jig. The other thing about this is that I want my dominoes, so I've got to do two in this leg, and this is the outer face. If I did the middle here and the middle here, then my dominoes would intersect in the chair part, and I wouldn't be able to get the full depth that I want. So I'm going to move my domino for the leg stretcher out further and move this one as far back as I can, and then hopefully the dominoes won't interact in the two mortises. And if they do, then I'll be able to see that the mortises connect. But with the settings that I have saved, they shouldn't, and we should be pretty safe. So I've got to change my angle and depth for almost all of these plunges. For the back legs, it's all 90 degrees, but I've got to do let's see, 28 setting, I think that's millimeters. 28 millimeter setting for this guy, and then the max setting, which I think is 40 for the back stretcher. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to cut 4 mortises here. In a later segment, I'm going to show you how I make my domino stock, and it works for using a plunge router as well. So I won't be able to talk in the next part because I've got to run the shop vac, but that's what we're doing next. All right, so now I have all my joinery done on the back legs. So I've got my matching back slats. These are my back stretcher domino mortises, and then my side stretcher domino mortises. Now, unfortunately, I did change the thickness of these legs, so my dimensions didn't quite work out for me to avoid intersecting my mortises. So you can see when I stick a tenon in from one side, you can see it, and that means that I'm going to have some problems with reaching full depth. So what I'll have to do, or what I'll want to do, because the side stretcher is the most important part for strength in the whole chair, I'm not going to sacrifice any strength for this joint. I'm going to get that to go full depth, and then I'm just going to have to cut the back stretcher tenon short, which is still pretty substantial. So you see, I still have, what, looks like 3/4 of an inch. Yeah, just about 3/4 of an inch of the tenon. That will have plenty of glue strength in there. And then it'll also have a back stretcher. So that'll be plenty strong, but I don't want to sacrifice any strength for this piece. So the next step is to do the tapers on these back legs and then kind of final shape them with the spoke shave. So I'm going to go back to the bandsaw. But the first thing I need to do is mark out my taper locations. So this is the final orientation of the pieces. I don't want to get this wrong, so I'm going to go ahead and clamp these up so I mark them up the same. And actually, before I do that, I'll go ahead and mark on one and transfer the other. So let's see. This is my start taper point, and I'm going to take this guy 1 inch above my joinery zone. And start the taper there. So I'm not interacting with anything that's got to be a flat surface. And I've got just a flexible, straightish edge that I can mark my tapers out with. And basically on this back leg, I want to taper down to 1 1/4 inch just to maintain some thickness. And I'm going to do that from the outside. So the outside of the leg is not touched. And then on top, to thin it out, I'm going to take this down to 1 1/8. And that will, so let's do a full inch. Tapering down to a full inch on the outside. So marking from the inside out. Now I'll get these realigned. Clamp them up, and I'm going to transfer my taper start and stop points. And where's this one? Here it is. Okay, I'm just going to take my flexible strip here. This is just some wainscot offcut from a house project I was working on. It's not my go-to, but it's what I have right this moment. I don't have a ruler that's flexible and long enough to do these taper markouts. So the foot taper is not very much because I want to maintain some of that strength, but a little goes a long way. But these top ones are a little bit more dramatic. Let's see. There we go. Inch. But I'm just going to align my flexible thingy here. Draw out a line that I can bandsaw to. Okay, probably won't be able to see that on camera, but I'm going to take this back over to the bandsaw that out, and then we will spoke shave it up a little bit. All right, so now I've got these nice clean tapers that look really sleek, and there's just a little bit here that I need to shave down to make it look good. And these are completely non-functional tapers, they're just aesthetic. So I'm just gonna clean them up, and there's nothing I need to really worry about matching. I just wanna make sure they look good. So a little bit of gray. Maybe it's because I'm going the wrong way. time to go ahead and soften up the edges too. There's no more joinery work at this point, so any handling doesn't need those square points anymore. Just make it easier to handle now. Okay, that's one side tapered up. There's a little bit that I might want to actually get with sandpaper. I'll try to shape it real quick. Worked out nicely. Okay, one top taper, and just need to do the bottom on this one. Chamfer the feet. These are going to tear out over time. That is a nearly finished back leg. I just need to do a little bit of pillowing, and it will be ready for the final assembly. And try not to take much thickness off of this piece so that I don't weaken it any. I want to touch every inch of the chair to make sure that the whole thing is comfortable to the touch. And I have, this is just like a, you only need 10 seconds to do this, but you can touch every piece of this component and have no truly sharp edges. Still want to chamfer this top piece real quick while I've got it. That'll help prevent splinting and splintering. And now this back leg is basically done.